Mick, hello, and welcome to Southside Stories. It's great to have you here.
Hi, Matt. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Hey, listen, Mick, let's get started. It'd be great to hear just a bit of background, really, a bit about you and a bit about your company and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Mick. I'm the CEO and founder of Jointflows, former professional gymnast turned tech co-founder, essentially. We've got a tool for B2B sales teams, revenue teams, that helps them with deal progression. So it's AI agents for deal progression, and we help them with predictability, deal velocity, and forecasting issues.
Brilliant. And we're going to go into what that product looks like in a bit more detail in a second. I've got to ask you, though, you teased us there with this, I used to be a professional gymnast. You got to tell us, how do you go from a professional gymnast to running your own tech startup company?
Well, with a broken knee, I think is the answer. Look, I think sales is very much like sports. I think there's a lot of similarities between the two sectors. The higher level you go into in terms of sports, the more you have the same issues as what you would do as a salesman or a salesperson. So it felt very natural to move across into a sales role because it's a very competitive sector. There's a lot of pressure. You're tied to specific timelines. So you've got an event, you've got a tournament. It's a one-off event. You need to be really good during that day, which is similar to you having to pitch someone or to run a deal that needs to close by date X. And it was very natural. I finished my sports career and then transitioned into an SDR role, and I found my feet really quickly. And then I've made my way up from SDR to SDR manager, AE, enterprise AE, sales manager, VP of sales, and now CEO of a sales tech company.
Super. So the SDR experience, that was more on the sales and like a bigger corporate side, was it? What did that look like?
Tech startup, marketing technology, based in San Francisco, opening essentially the UK market, and they were trying to create enough coverage for the entirety of their sales team. And it was very much a matter of picking up the phone. So we're speaking about this, 10 years ago now. So picking up the phone, sending emails, creating target lists, and then getting them to book meetings with the AE, and then handing the deals over to the salespeople.
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear that background because that's a great segue into what you do now, which is all around improving, as you said, the sales flow, speeding up the sales deal completion. Tell us, though, a little bit more about that. Tell us about the kind of core problem. And you would have seen it in your previous roles, but tell us about the core problem in sales that you're looking to solve with Jointflows.
Yeah. So there's a world essentially between the buying processes and what you can track within your CRM systems, Salesforce, HubSpot, namely. You're looking at a deal in like 5-6 stages in a funnel. So from the top to the bottom, the deals move from the top to the last stage: disco, demo, pricing, legal negotiation, so on and so forth. And it's an overly simplified view of what's actually happening on the buying side when you've got 40 stakeholders. The deal stretches over a period of 12 months, 15 months. There's obviously a gap between the reality of the buying process and what you can track in your CRM systems. And having that gap prevents you from doing any automation, prevents you from being accurate in forecasting, and prevents you from actually delivering the work in order to progress the opportunity through to the finish line. The impact is a low conversion rate, extensive deal cycles, most of them going into close lost. And because you don't really know what's happening buying side, how can you forecast? Like, you just can't forecast. So if you want to dumb it down, essentially it's a project management tool, and it's the first project management tool on the market that is being built purposefully for revenue teams, so they can map buying journeys, individual buying journeys, and then deliver against them whilst keeping the forecasting consistency. We're looking at a level of complexity in specific segments, the maturity of the buyer, and then we understand that in order to achieve X, Y, Z, you will need X amount of days, which puts the close date to a specific time in the future.
Yeah, this sounds very interesting. I mean, as somebody that uses HubSpot and has been involved with sales, both from a perspective of doing sales and actually reporting on sales, I totally get this simplified view in HubSpot, because you go in a HubSpot. HubSpot, by the way, is a great platform in many, many ways. But the deal pipeline is, although you can customize it and amend it, it is generally, people leave it as a default, and that's very simplified.
Yeah.
Sort of 6-7 steps to a deal completion, as you say, win or lose. I found often, actually, if you are being asked to report on deals or you're doing the reporting, it just doesn't tell you where a deal is. I mean, or maybe it's stuck in the negotiation phase. Well, whereabouts in that negotiation phase is it? Is it procurement? Is it with the initiator on the buyer side? Where exactly is it? So I think tell us a little bit more how you get into the detail and how the Jointflows project management helps me with that problem.
Yeah. So we're also HubSpot. So we use HubSpot internally for our system of records, basically. And then we execute through Jointflows. That the execution word is very, very important, because you're only as good as your level of execution, especially nowadays where sales cycles are becoming more and more complex. Like, you have to be a good project manager. And there's zero tool on the market that is purposefully built for that outcome. So the negotiation is a good example, right? You stumble upon a stakeholders, externally a buyer, and your negotiation phase can last 3, 6, 9 months. Same with legal. What really is happening within the deal is you've got multiple stakeholders who are joining the buying process at different stages, and they all need to get caught up on what's been proposed so far. So you might be at negotiation phase with one stakeholder and have 2 or 3 other stakeholders, one at demo stage, one at pricing stage, one looking into the legal stuff, one looking into the integration guidelines and doing the technical due diligence. So really, your opportunity has multiple speeds into that same account, right? Which is impossible to map using the traditional funnels. Just a side note, those funnels are 30 years old. So the first thing that Salesforce created in 1999 was a pipeline in which you had 4 stages. And so the way we track deals is 30 years old. And the buyer has moved on, right? They don't operate in a funnel, so it's impossible to replicate buying journeys into CRM platform. Essentially, that's what we do as a technology.
And I had a look at the platform, and it basically allows both the client or the seller and the buyer to go to a sort of centralized kind of web interface. I think that's kind of piped back in and out of HubSpot, isn't it?
Yeah.
The great thing about that is also if you're on the buyer side, because often, I think we tend to come from this perhaps from the sales perspective, but if you're on the buyer side, I might be an executive in a large company. We want to get the deal done, right? We've got KPIs to hit, we've got things to deliver for our annual appraisal. My boss in the corporate world might be breathing down my neck saying, "Hey Matt, what's the status of this deal?" And the ability to go and look at an interface and see exactly, well, Joe from legal is still reviewing the red lines, or the compliance guy is halfway through it, and to give basically your platform allows that, doesn't it? It allows you to get a very quick read on where exactly is the deal and where are the bottlenecks.
Yeah, the platform gives the framework for salespeople to master their craft. I think that's the simplest way to explain it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How do you build alignment between the problem and the solution is step number 1. Mm-hmm. What is the problem? Can we qualify it? Can we quantify it? Can we link it to a personal consequence if that problem is not solved? Mm-hmm. This often gives you the answer to the second concept, which is timelines. Mm-hmm. If you've identified a problem that needs to be fixed, then you know when this problem needs to be fixed by, and therefore you've got a compelling event. And then it's understanding processes, right? It's understanding roles and responsibilities of the involved stakeholders and how to involve them. Jointflows gives you that framework, and again, like it's very project management like to map this out. So the seller becomes extremely good at doing discovery, extremely good at building business cases, extremely good at negotiating timelines, and highlighting that, if we've got a 6-month process ahead of us and you only have 3 months to start fixing that problem, we're going to have to speed up. So it's a negotiation tool, to your point, Matt. And then to understand who's responsible for what in the sign-off and the de-risking of that process. And then everything happens automatically. Once you know the buying milestones, the Jointflows platform will enable you to plug automatically those workflows, the internal workflows that are required for you to then deliver against those buying requirements. And it happens automatically, which means that the salesperson is free to do even better work at qualifying opportunities and progressing them.
Yeah, because if you've got a very valuable high commission sales force, that's a fairly hefty cost center. Obviously it's generating revenue as well, but have those guys wrapped up in project management, chasing people up, is a massive waste of their time when they could be actually focused on new prospects, higher up the pipeline potentially. Every business I've spoken to on Southside Stories, virtually all of them talk about deal, how long it takes to complete a deal and deal life cycles. And it's probably got worse. It's probably got those have got lengthier. I think because budgets are a little tighter, money's a little tighter, VC money is tighter. So everybody is, first of all, watching budgets more carefully. And it means also on the buyer side, there are more hoops to go through. There are more decision makers to get across the line. So your solution helps plug that kind of decision making unit into a flow to move the deal forward. What impact have you seen in terms of improving the time it takes to get a deal done with Jointflows?
50% improvement. I think it's kind of the benchmark. But you also become 50% more efficient, which is also very important. There's a massive lack of efficiency in managing sales cycle, and I'm separating sales from buying cycle, just sales cycle. So anything internal is done almost entirely manually. Giving status updates to your manager, updating deal health to the SDR leader who's got the SDR who's booked the meeting, asking for an update so that they can then get commissioned. Updating and giving updates and doing status updates and catch-up calls with deal desk, legal. The salesperson is essentially orchestrating this work and is passing the plates internally until these workflows are done. The question I always ask is why? Like, why do you do this manually? It's always the same thing. Okay, a different deal, but it's always the same process. The problem is because you don't have the visibility of when this process is going to happen, and it's not a linear thing, right? It's not, okay, I've done demo, now I'm going to go into pricing, because as we said, like, people jump in and out that buying cycle with different requirements. You just can't automate them. So we're giving them the ability to forget about their funnel for a minute, to look at what the buyer needs to go through, and then to automate internal workflows off the back of that. Deal desk is a great example. Legal. How many enterprise salespeople have not struggled with legal timelines? Internal. Hey, what's my legal team doing? It's been 2 weeks. I haven't heard from them. It's the same MSA we had for the last 4 years. Like, what takes so long to find the permutations we've already accepted in the past, So we fixed that. We fixed that entirely. And that's 80% of the work that happens during a sales cycle is completely one-sided. It's catching people up, it's giving updates, it's coming up with a number that is made of assumptions and anecdotes more than real data, and automating it.
I think it's a great solution, very clear benefits. I wish I'd had it both as a salesperson and a sales manager. Also, I wish I'd had access to this on the buyer side as well. And I totally sympathize and empathize with well, I don't want to blame legal too much, but often legal is a very lengthy delay there.
It's a
And
bottleneck. Yeah.
unless you're on it, unless you're aware of where are they with what they've got to do, they sort of get left alone to their own devices. And so your platform is a great way to nudge people to make sure that we're hitting the timelines and the deal is moving through the correct stages.
Yeah. Yeah. There are two things the buyers don't care about. All right. As a seller, it's very frustrating. Buyers don't care about your sales cycle. They don't. It's irrelevant to them which stages they sit in and what the win rate of that stages is and what the expectation from the business is from the duration of the stage. So they go at their pace, and their job is to de-risk the problem they're trying to solve, the compatibility with the technology or the services they're buying and their current ecosystem, and the financial outcomes. Right? It's those three things are the buckets they're spending time on, bringing the risk to zero. Our solution enables to document all of that, and then on one-to-one basis say, okay, have we addressed the concern on problem-solution alignment? Have we addressed the concern on the technological integration to your systems? Have we addressed the concerns on the benefits and the net present value of the solution? And the second thing the buyer doesn't care about is where they sit within your departments. So there's a big problem within the sales teams, but it's even worse when the client is moving from sales to onboarding, from onboarding to renewal and customer success. It's a massive transition. The buyer is dealing with an entity and expecting that journey to be completely fluid. And internally on the selling side, you have to update everyone, bring everything back from scratch, position what has been said, what are the risks, and so on and so forth. The information gets lost, and the impact is on the experience of the buyer. So again, that transition happens both horizontally and vertically. And if you don't have a project management tool that documents everything along the way, you stumble and then you create frictions that impact your revenue unnecessarily, again, because it's all internal stuff.
Mick, tell us about your ideal customers now. Tell us about what that looks like. What type of businesses, salespeople are ideal prospects for you?
Yeah, so we're dealing with companies with at least 50 employees, typically in SaaS, at least at the moment. If you've got a sophisticated sales cycle, like if you feel like the sales cycle takes more than 3 months to win or to lose, then there's an element of complexity and there's a layer of project management work which is done manually, and that's where we are best suited to help. Our company have usually tried a digital sales room, and is falling short because digital sales room as well as AI forecasting is forcing essentially the reps to go quicker at discovery, to rely on a landing page, to rely on a solution that will calculate a forecast for them, as opposed to go and identify the work to be done on the buying side and then align the resource against that. So there's usually a graduation process from these two sectors, and then we take them all the way up to public company size, basically.
And is there, I mean, if I'm watching this, listening to this, and supposing I meet the criteria there, what about deal size? Is there a optimum sort of deal value, do you think, or is it more about the complexity of project management of so the more decision makers involved, the more relevant your product is that the primary thing?
Yeah. So unfortunately, the market is going towards the more transactional deals becoming more and more complex to get signed off. So the value is almost irrelevant nowadays. We've got clients with a 50k average ticket, and that takes them 6 months to go through that, get approval on the buying side. We've got clients with a 12k average ticket, and that take them just as long because they're in a massive competitive space. So I would say if you've got more than 2 or 3 steps into your process, then there's alignment work happening behind the scene you can't capture. If those 3 steps are, I've got a discovery call, I run a demo, I send the contract, they sign, you don't need project management. It's quite easy to stay on top of that. As soon as it becomes more complex than that, solution consulting gets involved, solution engineers. You've got multiple deal review calls on a single deal. So like it stretches over many weeks, many months. Then you're in for a ride, and then we'll unlock that for you.
Yeah. Great. All right. Tell us about your ambition then for 20, because you've got a very clear product, very clear solution, very clear benefits, very clear ideal customer. Tell us about your ambition. Where are you now? And what's your ambition moving into 2025 and beyond in terms of revenue size, team size?
Yeah, so we are semi-bootstrapped. We're very lucky to have extremely performing, high-level salespeople in the team. So, like, we're really good at going to market, I would say, compared to the average company our size, at least. The solution does have the work for us, to be completely honest with you. So we use Jointflows to sell Jointflows, and part of that is exactly what we will then deliver to the client, which is great discovery, great deal cycles, great progression flows. And the goal is to reach the like £1 million ARR by the end of the year, which we already have visibility on. That puts us in the very top decile of sales tech SaaS companies, basically. And if we can do that quicker, then obviously then there are going to be rewards off the back of that.
And beyond that, what's your sort of growth ambition in the, say, 2 to 3 year time frame? You're looking to double that 1 million, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I think we are. I don't know if luck is the right word here, because a lot of things don't happen by luck anymore, but we've been lucky to have kind of unicorn-like growth rates so far. So like both in rates and in pace. And if we can, and I feel like we can, keep on that pace on a semi-bootstrapped model. So like with a couple of angels we've had since day one, but those people bring value to the table in terms of expertise and advisory. Then we'll keep on going. Like there's no point overcomplicating it.
Okay. And team size, what does that look like now? It sounds like you have. Well, just tell us what team size now, and what do you expect that to look like in say 12 months' time?
There's 5 of us at the moment. In 12 months' time, there's probably going to be 6, 7. I like to keep things lean. I like to have everyone in the company have a lot of skin in the game, which you can't do if you've got 30, 50, 60 employees. You know, like you've got employees with literally no equity whatsoever, and then being asked to deliver the same amount of work as employees who've been there from day one. So we're going to keep it lean. We're going to keep it extremely focused. And I think the difference, again, between our team and the competitive teams is that we're all sales leaders, even the product team. So the engineers have a sales background as well, which is super hard to find. So we've spent a lot of time doing it.
Yes, if there's one thing I would expect you guys to do brilliantly, it's sales, right? So just out of interest, though, in the mix of talent that you have, where do you think that you're less strong, just in terms of the team's bench strength? If you could have a magic wand and have 2 or 3 key people that weren't sales, where would you put those resources?
Marketing, I think.
Yeah.
Actual marketing. I think it's fair to say we've got no specialized skill set there. We're big on LinkedIn. We've got our own podcast, which has been really successful last year. But it's more like using our own sales credentials to speak about sales essentially on LinkedIn. We're very lucky to sell to salespeople. And by that, I mean that there's no proxy between what we sell and how we use the solution. We just tell our own stories, and then there's no need to no need to understand what a marketer would do and then try and live in their shoes, basically. So the engineering team, half the engineering team has a sales leadership background as well. So again, like in terms of then coding the actual use case into the platform, the narrative is very straightforward, it's very clear. We all have suffered from the problem we're solving, so super smooth. But it would be great to have more engineering power, obviously. So I would say our two gaps are marketing and perhaps product, more in terms of quantity than quality.
That leads me to the next questions around funding. You talked about bootstrapping right now. Would you consider a funding round to sort of accelerate your growth, hire a few marketing people, increase the engineering strength? Is that something on that you start to think about now as you look at your growth plan?
Yeah, I think yes. So we've got those conversations going on in the background. We are not needing external investment, which I think again is very positive, because a lot of people, a lot of companies are raising because they're on the brink, and if they don't, then they run out of cash. We are not in that position at all. Now, that said, if we were to raise now, there would be a massive opportunity for us to accelerate it exponentially, because we've got like extremely healthy unit economics. We've got formulas for creating pipeline, closing it, expanding it, which are kind of proven, at least at our scale. Like, all of our clients are going through the same ratios. So it would be with the right sponsor, as opposed to any who's got money to put in, and it would be a long-term relationship we're trying to create with someone who can then help us navigate the future stages of our growth.
Yeah. So you'd be looking for know-how rather than just pure cash.
Yeah, like, I don't think
Yeah.
it's that hard to find angel investors that can match the value of a pre-seed round nowadays. I think finding a VC who's got an understanding of the space and an operational background is very rare. So we've got a couple of firms identified, which we've been staying close to, like Hatched, for instance. We'd love to be partnered with them eventually. But aside of that, like, I think it's very, very few of them that can do both the money and the advice.
Yeah. Okay. And crystal ball time, if you could think about your ideal exit and a finish point to the business, what would that look like if you were dreaming of that day? Some way
Yeah,
off, I guess, but what would that look like for you?
I don't know the value. I don't know if it's an IPO or if it's a massive exit. What I know is that we're filling gaps that all, or like 99% of sales tech have, which is they all rely on a funnel to operate. They will rely on funnel stages to tell you where the deal is at. And if they don't rely on one, they create their own, which is just as bad. So everyone, like top level in sales tech, so like the CRM platforms, the sales engagement platforms, the data companies as well, are a set of usual suspect for us to be acquired by. We've been approached by like some of the biggest names already to plug that gap. A lot of the technologies on the market are really good at enabling you to understand the job, the work to be done on progressing opportunities, but none of them can really execute against it. So conversational intelligence platforms, great, you need to do X, Y, Z. Okay, so then what? Okay, I'm back with my my knife and my stick, essentially, to go find the resource. So we plug that gap entirely. So it's a very nice add-on, straightforward, complementary tool to plug on top of for these companies.
As CEO, Mick, what keeps you up at night? What are your challenges? What's the how do you manage your time effectively?
Yeah, I think I've got two frustrations. The first one is there's a massive hype around AI, and there's such a commoditization of the basic AI stuff, like hey, read a transcript, write a follow-up email, read a transcript, do my I don't know, like a score, like or a health, or identify next steps. And the entirety of sales tech is doing this now. And I'm like, guys, if you want to bring something to the table, do something that can't be done. And work on it and create a little bit of IP, which is, I think, it's an opportunity for us. Unfortunately, it means that the bar is quite low, and sales tech is seen quite with a negative tone to it, because I think people have been burned. And the second thing is, I think the way sales tech leaders come across is too basic. Like it's you need to raise the bar, I think, a little bit. I think we all need to do better at improving the game, and this doesn't start with commoditizing the work. It starts with making sure you understand what problem you're trying to solve and enable people to get the skill set to do it, as opposed to a temporary shortcut. AI SDR is a great example of that. They come in, they promise you the moon, we're going to automate the entirety of your messaging, and they kill the channel, right? Because now everyone is doing it. No one knows how to write an email. No one knows how to prospect. No one knows how to deliver a compelling 30 seconds elevator pitch, because they don't pick up the phone, because all they do is put a list of contact into an AI SDR platform. And everyone suffers from it now. It's really hard to get in front of people because of the noise around you. So we really need to be doing better. And we're trying to drive that from the front at Jointflows. Sometimes we're a little bit controversial. Sometimes we're challenging, calling people out that are saying the wrong thing. But if everybody was taking care of how they come across and what they do to actually improve the category, then I think we will all be better off.
Great points. Great points. Just to wrap up, the time's gone super quickly, but just to wrap up, tell us, and I'm asking everybody this question, tell us about a leader or somebody in your life that's been very influential on your business career. It could be an earlier leader, it could be a colleague, it could be a mentor. Tell us about somebody who's had a big influence on you.
Yeah, I've got two people in mind. I think my business partner, Hitesh, is awesome to work with. I mean, there's never a problem that can't be solved. There's always a perspective to the problem. And I think there's an always-on can-do attitude, which is really hard to have. Like, if someone is always on, like, often there's kind of a face that this person is putting on, and then eventually that face just, the mask drops, and then you see the real person. I've been working with Hitesh for 7 years. Is always on, like crazy. So it's a massive engine for the entire company, and is someone who can take on a challenge, give something a go, and then learn from it. The second person is my wife. I think there's quite a lot of things I wouldn't be able, if not like the entirety of everything I do, without a supporting partner at home. Someone who understands the challenge of building a company from scratch and the time it takes to do it, and the attention span of, okay, why is Mick awake at 4 a.m. on his laptop, and with the kids, there's added complexity to managing all of that. But I was talking about this on the previous podcast. If you can find the right partner at home, then that's half the job done.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Here's to the wives and the partners and the support crew, and also Hitesh. Sounds like a great guy.
Yeah, Hitesh.
Mick, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a fascinating talk. We wish you every luck and forward momentum in 2025.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.